Human security is an emerging paradigm for understanding global vulnerabilities whose proponents challenge the traditional notion of national security by arguing that the proper referent for security should be the individual rather than the state. Human security holds that a people-centered, multidisciplinary understanding of security involving a number of research fields, including development studies, international relations, strategic studies, and human rights. The United Nations Development Programme's 1994 Human Development Report is considered a milestone publication in the field of human security, with its argument that ensuring freedom from want and freedom from fear for all persons is the best path to tackle the problem of global insecurity. Critics of the concept argue that its vagueness undermines its effectiveness, that it has become little more than a vehicle for activists wishing to promote certain causes, and that it does not help the research community understand what security means or help decision-makers to formulate good policies. Alternatively, other scholars have argued that the concept of human security should be broadened to encompass military security. In other words, if this thing called human security has the concept of the human embedded at the heart of it, then let us address the question of the human condition directly. Thus understood, human security would no longer be the vague amorphous add-on to harder-edged areas of security such as military security or state security. In order for human security to challenge global inequalities, there has to be cooperation between a country's foreign policy and its approach to global health. However, the interest of the state has continued to overshadow the interest of the people. For instance, Canada's foreign policy, 3Ds, has been criticized for emphasizing defense more than development. Origins. The emergence of the human security discourse was the product of a convergence of factors at the end of the Cold War. These challenged the dominance of the neo-realist paradigm's focus on states, mutually assured destruction, and military security, and briefly enabled a broader concept of security to emerge. The increasingly rapid pace of globalization, the failure of liberal state-building through the instruments of the Washington Consensus, the reduced threat of nuclear war between the superpowers, the exponential rise in the spread and consolidation of democratization and international human rights norms opened a space in which both development and concepts of security could be reconsidered. At the same time, the increasing number of internal violent conflicts in Africa, Asia and Europe resulted in concepts of national and international security failing to reflect the challenges of the post-Cold War security environment, whilst the failure of neoliberal development models to generate growth, particularly in Africa, or to deal with the consequences of complex new threats reinforced the sense that international institutions and states were not organized to address such problems in an integrated way. The principal possible indicators of movement toward an individualized conception of security lie in the first place in the evolution of international society's consideration of rights of individuals in the face of potential threats from states. The most obvious foci of analysis here are the UN Charter, the UN Declaration of Human Rights and its associated covenants, and conventions related to particular crimes and the rights of particular groups.